This is Ready, Set, Reiki, a podcast about Reiki and all energy work, from the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all lineages, all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready, Set, Reiki journey, I refer to myself as a guide rather than host, as I too am traveling, learning, and supporting others on this Reiki journey as well. And with that said, I am your guide, Tracy Seawright, and this is Ready, Set, Reiki. Hello, Reiki family. Reiki blessings to you, one and all. Another amazing journey today. But before we begin, I'd like to remind you about a very special place on Facebook. It is the Reiki Business Collective. Here, sharing, supporting, and serving. Here is where you can connect with your Reiki business community. Now, do you need to have a Reiki business? Absolutely not. Wherever you are on your journey, maybe you're that curious beginner, maybe you're that seasoned master teacher, maybe you are a PhD scholar, but this is a place where you can land to know that you are not alone. Do not ever feel that you're ever isolated. There is people on here, individuals who are supportive, caring, and are here to serve. So check it out. It is nothing to join a wonderful, beautiful Facebook group. Our next one here is, ta-da, the Reiki Business Summit. Now, this is in April 18th to the 19th, and someone on here looks really familiar. It's me, and I will be speaking during that summit here, so check me out. Also, Karen, that is my mentor. I may have shared with some of you that the International Center of Reiki, I am a student on there and learning, and Karen is my wonderful, amazing mentor. A lot of great minds here to support and share to help everyone, so check it out. You can find that information right back there in the Reiki Business Collective. Well, let's go. I can't wait. Let's begin this journey. So let me tell you about my guest. Now it is Lorena Rodrigo. She is a Reiki master in guide and sound and stillness. Now she is a certified sound meditation guide and teacher of Ashara Yin pregnancy restorative yoga. Now she is based in the UK, and her work is devoted to the art of listening as a pathway into presence, attunement, and subtle awareness. Now, there is so much more to her, but I'd like for you to hear it in her very own words. So let's give a Ready, Set, Reiki welcome. Hello.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure. I am so delighted to be here today in Ready, Set, Reiki. As Tracy said, my name is Lorena. I am originally from Spain, but based in the UK, just outside London. I've been here for 26 years now. And I am all of those things that she mentioned. So Reiki master, yoga teacher, sound meditation practitioner, breathwork facilitator. But I'm also a mother of a 7-year-old. And yes, I kind of dedicate my time, my effort, and my energy to help other people to kind of connect with themselves. I think my unique offering is connecting with themselves through listening. And I do the listening through many different modalities, one of them being Reiki.
Beautiful, beautiful. And we're here because of Reiki. This is how we're connecting on this journey. So tell me about the Reiki. When did it come into your life? Did you find Reiki or did it find you?
Reiki found me. Definitely. So my background is in communications. So I used to work in the city of London. I had quite a busy job working for a big law firm. I was unhappy. I was disconnected. I was many things. I'm sure loads of listeners relate with that. And at the age of 31, I was diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer. And so I was lucky enough to have a private health insurance. I know in the US it's probably quite the thing, but here in the UK, basically, when you have a problem, you go to hospital, you get treated for free. But I had a private health insurance, which I was really lucky. obviously it was going through my company and everything. I had to have loads of different treatments for a very long time, and I didn't know whether I was gonna pull through. But one of the things that changed basically my life was getting Reiki at the hospital, because the hospital was offering what they call complementary therapy. And there was this person giving me Reiki just before each of the chemotherapy sessions. And it was just like an incredible experience, how the days that I didn't have Reiki and I had to go into the therapy, I found it really, really hard. Whereas when I was having Reiki, I was connecting deeply with myself and my own energy. And obviously, this lady was such an amazing conductor of energy that the experience of then having to go and have treatment was completely different. So Reiki found me, definitely, in that situation about, having to go to hospital and having treatment. However, it was what they call my guru moment, right? It was that moment of like realization of like, why is this happening to me first? Because I was relatively healthy. I had been vegetarian for, I don't know, like 24 years or something. I was exercising. I was doing everything that you're supposed to do. But I was deeply unhappy and I was stressed, probably. And that's when your body kind of reacts against you. That's when your body says stop. And if you don't listen, which is what I was doing, basically, not listening, then basically it makes you stop either one way or another. And so when I was there in hospital, and the 2 years that basically took me to kind of go back to normal, although it's not normal anymore, right? You're a new person in many, many different ways. Then my ideas were, okay, I'm going to become a yoga teacher. I'm going to become a Reiki master. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this, because all I wanted to do was, apart from reconnecting with myself, was also guiding and helping other people that were in sort of similar situations, maybe not as bad as I was, but like people already in the burnt out that, they're like completely pushed to the edge and they don't know where to go. And through practices of deep listening, whether it's Reiki, whether it's sound therapy, whether it's even yoga, you can really make a difference. So that's how basically Reiki found me.
What a blessing that was offered to you in the hospital. Not too many hospitals in the United States offer that. And, thank you for, as you went through this experience, to turn this around to help be a blessing to others. So thank you for doing that. And I'm glad you are on that way of health and being of service to so many others. So thank you. So as you're out there, as you're doing the different modalities, I'm also a yoga teacher as well. And there's many misconceptions about yoga, of course, as you know. As you're out here, what are some misconceptions that you are finding that people have about Reiki and energy work?
There's so many misconceptions, really. I don't know where I would start, but I guess some people still have the idea that to give Reiki, you have to be some sort of a healer, no? And then, you have to look some way, you have to behave some way, you have to, I don't know, like, and again, what is a healer? I don't know. I don't believe I have any magical powers. I really don't. I basically work with energy and vibration, but I create the spaces for people to be able to reconnect first through listening, reconnect with themselves through listening and through intuition, and creating those safe spaces for people to relax. So I think there is this misconception of like, I don't know, Reiki is some sort of like weird thing that I don't know, witches perform, like kind of being silly about it. But most people, in fact, when they say to me, oh, can I have a session with you and can I have, I don't know, Reiki and this and that and that, I was like, okay, do you know what Reiki is? And they're like, no. Okay. Do you want me to tell you? And I try to tell them in a sort of like non-woo-woo sort of way so that they kind of understand because obviously if you've never experienced energy work or if you never heard anything about it, for let's call them like normal people, like they wouldn't really understand. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest misconception. Yeah.
Right. So, as you've gone on this journey of helping others and supporting through yoga, sound, through Reiki, as you stand here today, as you look back in your life, what are some challenges or struggles you have faced in your own healing journey?
I would say that sometimes I've gone to sessions with people and I have encountered people that knew best, right? They knew everything. They knew best. Their way of energy healing was the best. There was nothing else you could do. In fact, I think one of like the examples that comes to my mind was when I was living in central London. I was part of a project called the Waltham Forest Reiki project. And it was a project where some Reiki masters, we gathered once a month and we offer free Reiki to the community. Basically, anybody could walk through the door and we would give 15 minutes Reiki to whoever walked through the door, basically. And it was super well attended. We had like people queuing up, even people that never had heard from anything like energy work or Reiki or anything like that. Like lovely old ladies, like all sorts of like types. It was really wonderful. But when I moved out of London to the suburbs, I was like, oh, I'm going to restart the Reiki project, but I'll be like Reading Reiki project. That's where I live, right? So I contacted some Reiki masters in the area and they were like, oh, what sort of Reiki do you practice? I said, Reiki. Let's just Reiki. And I was like, what is it that you're trying to ask me? What is it, the style? Is it Usui, right? Oh no, I only work with people that practice angelic Reiki or angel Reiki or something else or some other random name or whatever. I was like, this is a project where we help people, kind of like come to themselves. We offer it for free. It's a really good also marketing tool for yourself and then for your own benefit, because then you can go away and say, if you want a little bit more of this or if you want a longer session, because it was only like 10-15 minutes for the session, then you can come to my practice. No, they wouldn't work with me. I'm like, that was like, honestly, that realization of like, no, my thing is better than yours. It was really shocking and actually quite sad, because I didn't ask the person who was giving me Reiki in the hospital, oh, so what method are you using? Like, I don't care. It's like...
Right. Well, I look at that as a blessing because you were being protected. So look at it that way. They weren't, so your energy was being protected. So yeah, and it's a shame that there are people out there that I guess gatekeep, because it's all coming from love and service.
Exactly.
So and when you look at it, we consider, Uzui Sensei, the founder of his system of Reiki, and many of these systems, I kind of call them like complementary or specialty systems such as like crystal, animal, that all stems from that. You need to have those Uzui symbols. So we're all one and we're all here for that purpose.
Exactly.
But I look at it like you were being protected and thank goodness it didn't work with you, right? Right?
That's a beautiful way of looking at it,
That's how
definitely.
I look at it.
At that time, I felt really hurt because I was like, what do
Of
you
course you
mean?
did. I can't imagine, but this wasn't about you. That's about them, right? And so, yeah, don't take it that way. I look at it as you are divinely protected on that. So I say that's a blessing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm taking it as a blessing for sure.
Beautiful. Yes. So when it's time for you to get an energetic tune-up, what are some qualities that you look for in a Reiki practitioner, or even when you're finding a teacher for yourself? What are those qualities, those green flags that you look for? Like, yes, this is the person I want to work with.
I guess it's quite difficult, right? Because when you don't know who you're going to, it's quite difficult. How I found my Reiki teacher, the person who trained me, was obviously I was looking for a Reiki teacher training or Reiki mastery in London. And I actually went because someone recommended this person to me. So I trained with someone, an amazing, talented man who I deeply love, and is one of my most loved teachers, called Michael Kaufman. He's also European as well. And I actually sent all my friends to him afterwards because I love him that much. But I'm a very deeply intuitive person. I'm Cancerian, actually. So I really connect or not connect with people. So like if I connect with someone, I know that that person is going to vibrate at the same sort of frequency that me. Let's just call it frequency or energy or something. And when I find that connection, vibrational resonance, whatever you want to call it, I know that I'm in safe hands and I can relax, and therefore my channels can open. If I don't connect, which has also happened sometime, like I'm close, and therefore that person can give me Reiki, or they can give me whatever they like, nothing's gonna enter through because I'm not open. And I remember when I did my Reiki one with Michael, he came, so we were on this, like around this circle, and I had my eyes closed and I could feel him coming towards me. It was incredible, like a wave, like towards me. And then all my friends who have trained with him afterwards described exactly the same thing, which is incredible. So I look for resonance. I look for someone who I can trust. I also look for people who are down to earth and sincere. Again, like I really don't like this, like, oh, look at me showing off, whatever. But then when it comes to the actual work, it's empty, it's like an empty vessel. So yeah, I think that's probably me.
Yeah. And I'm sure you find that too in the yoga world, right? Those teachers that you absolutely resonate with. And,
Totally.
some of my favorite teachers have been so down to earth, right? And they can't get into all of the asanas, right? And they're really human about it and bring a little humor to it. And I was teaching a class a couple days ago, and I have like a tear. And my hips really getting worse. And I went to get into shoelace, right? Shoelace.
Yeah.
We went from like a low lunge to that. And I was like, yeah, I said, my leg's not going to go there today. And they were like, I'm like, so if the teacher can't get in it, you're okay.
Yeah, exactly. You want someone that you can resonate with,
Yeah.
that someone that is like sincere about everything, that is not trying to sell you anything or, trying to talk you into anything. Again, I think when I think about all these energy practices, let's include yoga into the same sort of category, right? The main first principle of the yoga philosophy, as you probably know, being a yoga teacher, is ahimsa, which is non-violence.
Yeah.
And when you really contemplate that non-violence, when, first of all, obviously, non-violence towards yourself, so you're not doing anything bad towards you. So by that, I mean, if you go to someone you don't resonate with, what is it that you're doing? You're really not connecting with yourself to start with. Second, like, I think if you practice that as your main pillar for everything, then because you look after you and your energy field, then when you give Reiki or you give any other energy practices, you're going to give it from that place of ahimsa, non-violence. And you can tell. You can definitely tell with people. I don't know about you, but I definitely,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
as Sun in Cancer, Moon in Gemini, I can definitely
Yeah.
tell. Like, I'm super connected with people's energy field. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, what advice would you give to someone who's just entering spiritual work, whether they were doing some type of job before, career, and have decided, you know what, I feel the calling to enter spiritual work?
So obviously, because my mantra here is listening, so it's going to be about, first, when you're entering something new, don't rush into it. Just listen to yourself, listen to the rhythms of your body, listen to, I don't know, even reconnect with the seasons of the earth, the cycles of your life, wherever it is that you're at the moment. And everything becomes easier. I can promise, like, I know people who don't believe in any sort of like energetic practices, like my husband. He's like totally scientific, but he is a master of connecting with things. He's a really deep listener. And even if you don't go into energy practices and you're just listening to this podcast because you're curious, or you're at the very, very beginning and you're thinking, shall I do Reiki one or shall I do something else? Then connect with your intuition, what your body really tells you, because then when you go and practicing any modality that you want to practice moving forwards, it all comes down to listening. And not just with you, because obviously you have to first be connected with your own energy so that you can then, like what they say on the airplanes, like, put your mask first before you go and help others. Then again, when you're treating people or when you're seeing people or when you are helping other people in any sort of possible way, again, it's about listening. Really, is all it is.
Some great advice. Act too much, and even just stopping and pausing and doing Reiki before reacting. That's allowing yourself that time to listen.
Correct. Yes.
So, what books do you recommend?
Ooh, I was thinking about this before, like if I was to recommend a couple of books. To be honest with you, the main book that I've always referred to is my own teacher book. His name again is Michael Kaufman. His website is something like breakingmeditation.co.uk. He's got a free book that you can download there, and it's all about self-Reiki. And honestly, I have seen many, many books, but it's the one book that I always go to because, it's kind of really, really handy and it's free. So, what's not to like? Then there is another lady I follow on social media. I actually met in a festival in London and I spoke to her briefly because she really inspires me. Her name is Jasmine Harsono, and I think her social media is something like Emerald and Tiger. And she's got a book called Self Reiki, which is also really good. Really, really good. So again, like if you are entering, even you are a seasoned Reiki master or you're entering into Reiki, sometimes as practitioners, all we do is give and give and give and give and give and give. And then until we're completely depleted. Because even if the main teaching that I got from all my courses with Michael was, you are a conduit. you're not giving your own energy. You just gotta let it flow through you. Even that, like when I was at the Reiki project, I would go out of the sessions completely depleted. I was trying to protect my energy. How did this happen? I have no idea.
Yeah.
So mastering self-Reiki, honestly, is one-on-one. If I was to give one piece of advice to anyone, mastering self-Reiki, you need to have the time and the energy to give it to yourself. And it's one of the practices that I never miss. Every night I go into bed, place my hands over me, and then, I invoke my guides and I kind of like channel all the energy, and I'm grateful for whatever it is that the day brought me, whether it's good, bad, or somewhere in the middle. And I give myself Reiki, and that really, really helps me closing the day. So honestly, like self Reiki, books in self Reiki, find the one that resonates with you and go from there.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's what I mean. You go to a point as a Reiki practitioner, master, and when the abundance comes in, all the things that you're manifesting, and then you get overwhelmed, and that's self Reiki there. Sometimes you just have to go back to basics because you're that close to burnout. I kind of look at it as a life vest, right? So it's like when you're having to have those moments of treading the water and you're like, okay, this is overwhelming. This is too much. You can bring that in. So yes, consistency is key. Practice, practice, practice. Take care of yourself, protect your energy. Absolutely. But thank you for sharing those books. So what other services do you offer? Do you offer classes, events, trainings?
So yes, so I offer classes, of course, but I'm based in the UK. So, but I can obviously do distance Reiki. I I offer sound trainings to become a sound meditation practitioner, which I also kind of weave Reiki through all those practices because I think it's really important. And I bring a lot of ritual and ceremony into my courses. At the moment, they're only in person, but there's some, this year is going to be the year where I'm going to start recording and I'm going to create some evergreen courses. So obviously, if you want to follow me on social media or through my website or through my newsletter, you receive when they're ready. I basically my main thing now coming up is I'm organizing a retreat in Morocco.
Beautiful.
Probably Morocco is quite far from the US, but it's not impossible. It's an amazing place in a town called Essaouira. And it's going to be a retreat that is going to be yoga, sound, Reiki, wonderful practices. We're right next to the beach. You basically open the door and you're on the beach. So the perfect place for listening, the perfect place for reconnection. We still have about 4 spaces. So if you want to come with me into this beautiful world of Morocco, sound, Reiki, and yoga, yeah, just check out my website as well. It's all there.
Beautiful. So where can we find you if they want to book a session or check all of the wonderful things that you offer?
So my website is really easy. It's my name. So www.lorenarodrigo.com. And then on Instagram, I'm under lorena.c.rodrigo. So those are my main sort of like places where I post most of my stuff. I also do like little practices, breath work, meditation on Instagram. Instagram is linked to my Facebook. So if you're in one, you're probably on the other. So if you just want to follow some of the stuff that I do, or you resonate with the things that I've been saying, that's where you can find me.
Perfect. Well, that ends the first part of our journey together, and I'm going to guide you to the next section, which is questions from social media and listeners. So here we go. Number 1, in your work, how can vibration assist in supporting your nervous system?
So vibrations. So there's been some really interesting studies about sound meditation. Sound meditation, I mean, again, different practitioners do different things, but the person that I've studied with, actually based in the States, in California, her name is Scarlett de la Torre, has basically shown us that there's plenty of studies where vibration through instruments, through many things, can be music, can be gongs, can be anything, really affect the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is this like the longest nerve that we have in the body. The insertion is really near the ears, and it just connects most of our internal organs. So it's like this web around the whole body. And when you're listening to something, it's vibrating, it's kind of like sending your brain or your... I'm going to make a correction here. Depending on what you're listening, because there are some noises or some sounds that are meant to be doing the opposite. So, for example, if you're hearing a car alarm or the ambulance going past or a baby crying, like I had babies crying like from our neighbor, like 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever. As a mother, you obviously switch on your sympathetic nervous system and then you wake up. But normally sounds that come from sacred instruments like gongs or bowls or even singing. Singing is probably the most amazing instrument that you have, and you have it within. It's like incredible tool. So when it vibrates, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the one that is in charge of your rest and digest, instead of your, like sympathetic, like run, is the tiger out there, freeze, run, do whatever. So activating the parasympathetic nervous system, you can do it through many techniques like breath work. You can do it through vibrational. You can also probably do it through Reiki. But, as I said, you have to have the right vibration. So not all vibrations are the same. So don't be tricked into this, like, oh, all vibrations produce that. No, like some vibrations are meant to do the opposite. So yes. And then obviously vibration as well. There is something called entrainment. And it's when two bodies kind of like, I'm sure you've seen those pendulums, right? One starts moving in one direction. Eventually the other one is something that comes from physics. They go into entrainment, so they move at the same pace. The same happens to our brain waves when we listen to instruments, for example, that are also, they have loads of overtones. You go from beta, active, I'm thinking, logical brain, to theta, which is the brainwaves that you encounter when you go into deep meditation.
Beautiful.
So it's that sort of liminal space that we sometimes achieve just before you go to sleep, sometimes as well, no? Like you are like half awake, you can still hear maybe the TV or something else, but you're kind of like already in that zone. So that's the place where the magic happens, at least in sound meditation.
Beautiful, beautiful. I know when I choose an instrument, whether it is mindful or purposeful or intentional, with this intuitive, I always bring it home. And my husband gets triggered by headaches, and my one daughter had a concussion that makes her very sensitive to sound. And I try the instrument out on them first, and they'll tell me. And I had bought these chimes, and they were like, this is horrible. Like, and the daughter that didn't have either one of those, she's like, oh, and she's like, here. And we were just playing around with it. We moved it, because sometimes you need to move it in the space. And, we got it just right where my husband wasn't triggered by it. My daughter wasn't triggered by it. But then I found another instrument that I got that could, balance it out afterwards. So yeah, a lot of people don't think all of this work is behind the scenes with it, but you want to make sure that person's nervous system, because it could set that off, right? It's like
Definitely.
people don't understand like the being intentional with it. So number 2, I get this asked a lot because I do the yoga, I do the Reiki, I do the sound bowls. Out of all the modalities you work with, what is the one that is your go-to when it is challenging and overwhelming emotions and times for you?
Well, as I was mentioning before, if I had a tough day, it's like getting into bed, doing some deep breathing, and doing some self Reiki. That is my go-to. Or sometimes, if it's not time to go to bed and I'm feeling quite agitated, just lying down or maybe resting and then connecting with the breath first, and then some self Reiki. I absolutely love that. Then, if I'm just having like, I have some time and I kind of feel okay, then maybe I'll play an instrument. I play the harp. And so just kind of like getting into that flow where you're really not having to think. It's just you and the instrument, or you and your breath. And that's the instrument, right? Then that makes wonders. You don't need anything else, actually. All you need is already within you.
Beautiful. Number 3. Now you work with gongs, crystal, Tibetan singing bowls, harp, shamanic drums, rain sticks, and your voice. What is one instrument, or do you have a specific instrument that you always go to for your work?
Aha. My instruments are like my family. So I love them all the same. Although I do have sort of favorites.
Right. Is there a particular one, like this is always the same bowl? I mean, some choose intuitively, right? Some like this is my go-to through every session or event.
Yeah, recently back in July, I got myself a Grota Sonora gong, and it's the most amazing thing I've ever experienced in my life. Not just that I say it, but I think everybody else says it. And then it's a bit of a pity because I've got, I don't know, 4 or 5 other gongs, but I always go back to this one because it's just incredible. It's just the harmonics of it is just like, I don't know, out of this world. I have never experienced anything like that with any of my pasty ones. It's just like this Grota Sonora. I don't know, it's just been made for me kind of thing. It's like, kind of they say, right, that when you play the gong, apart from being a meditation itself, is the gong that plays through you. You're not playing the gong, right? So you get into this zone again, and then you're like, wow. But then, like, that's when I'm giving sort of like sound meditation to other people. But at home, if I am just sitting at home kind of thing, I've got my monochord that I place over me that is just incredibly soothing and wonderful. The sound resonates through your whole body because you're like supporting it with your body. It just goes through you and it's so soothing. Exactly the same like with the harp, no? Like it's like right next to you and the sound goes through you. But in the harp, obviously, you have to engage your logical brain to like try to make some harmonic sound with it. Whereas the monochord is just a monochord. It just basically has 2 notes, right? But you don't need any technique with it. It's just insanely beautiful. Like, yeah.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Well, that was our last question. As we've been talking, is there anything else that you may have forgotten or something you'd like to share with the listeners? The floor is yours.
I just wanted to say thank you really for bringing me into this podcast. I really hope that I have inspired some people to really go into this journey. Again, don't look at the labels just because it says this or that other or whatever. Just really connect with what you resonate with the most. Don't let anyone, talk you into things or whatever. It's obviously wonderful to listen to your friends and see what their experiences have been. But ultimately, we're going back to the listening. And if things resonate, with you and, they vibrate at the same frequency, then go for it. If not, run away from it. That is it.
And let us know again your website, how we can connect with you.
Of course. So it's www.lorenarodrigo.com, and then on Instagram and lorena.c for Charlie .rodrigo, and that's my Instagram handle. And you can find me there, and you can find all the things that I do there as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this Ready, Set, Reiki journey. It has been a privilege and an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you for having me.
All right, my beautiful listeners, if you'd like your question featured on Ready, Set, Reiki, reach out, www.readysetreiki.com, or check me out on social media. So I'm Tracy C. Wright, and this has been Ready, Set, Reiki.